shit.
He watches his mother shoot his father 3 times in the back.
I'm Mr. Blackwood. They're the puppies.
I look like Quasimodo to you.
What about Johnny Lauer? What about China?
Big speech from the deathbed.
Adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush now.
TNA, Impact. Oh, they were on location for the 8 Mile Street fight. We had Letitia, AJ, Steiner, Christian, and Tomko.
And Abyss.
Christian and Tomko were having an argument. They just got back together last week, and they're already having issues. Yay. They're talking, and in the background, AJ is holding up a sign, Abyss is growling, and Steiner, in his sunglasses, is randomly throwing things.
They had, like street signs and guard, those orange things you see on the highway that say don't drive here. He was tossing the cones. No, thank you, the cones. Tossing cones around, and he would toss the cones.
What's it like? Roman Earth, the lowest form of Homo sapien there is.
He's trying to save you there.
I appreciate that. He tossed the cone and then stopped and flexed and stared at his arm. It was a great Scott Steiner moment.
Then we had... Oh, my eye. Sorry, everyone. I'm tired tonight.
You're done, aren't you?
Oh, man. People don't understand how hard it is to talk for extended periods of time. Rhino and Tomko in a no DQ
8 Mile Street fight.
8 Mile Street fight. That previous thing, by the way, was only good because of Scott Steiner.
It was.
They asked Christian. It was actually Christian. What was it? Tomko was going to be the street fight, and he said, "Are you guys going to have my back?" And Christian said, "Of course we're going to have your back, aren't we, Scotty?" And Scotty responded by giving a thumbs up and then going back to throwing random objects. That's the only thing that saved this. The only thing.
This is great and miserable at the same time. It was great because of Scott Steiner. It was miserable because, once again, we have a team of 5 guys who don't get along.
Which is just like the other team, coincidentally.
We'll get to that later.
Rhino and Tomko, no DQ, 8 Mile Street fight. I just watched that match on ECW, and it was 10 times better than this.
Yeah?
They brawled all over. It broke down into a wrestling match. And then Tomko, who had just pinned Samoa Joe a few weeks back and was the star of the show last week, he was gored by Rhino and pinned after Abyss accidentally hit him with a chair. And this was... I've seen far worse, don't get me wrong.
This was there.
It was a match. It was a match.
The thing to hate is that why have Tomko lose? It didn't matter who won this. There was nothing at stake. You could have either guy win. And for God's sake, if you're going to have Tomko be a star, have him beat fucking Rhino.
No, everyone's got to be on
Everyone's got to be equal.
So then Angle ran in to attack Abyss, and then Joe followed him down so we can make sure that we had more baby faces than heels, which is always great to get some good heat. And then AJ and Christian ran down for the 5-on-3 advantage, and Steiner once again did the whole beatdown wearing his sunglasses, and again, saved the segment.
He is great.
This is the Scott Steiner show.
It is.
So, then show ended with all 5 guys standing victorious over the bodies of Team Angle.
Segment ended with that, not the whole show. We wish the show was over, but there's more.
Thanks for ruining the joke there, dipshit. I'm turning you down. Let me start over again. So then the show ended with all 5 of Team Christian standing there over the bodies of Team Angle, holding each other's arms up and celebrating. And at that point I realized it was not, in fact, the end of the show. That was the opener. And there was 45 more minutes to come after that giant angle right there. Then we had some geeks meeting with Cornette backstage. He freaked out, told everyone to shut up. He said he had a team meeting to worry about later. Everyone needed to shut the fuck up and hit the bricks and not come back without a written invite. And suddenly in ran Gail, who I guess had a written invite, and she attacked Jackie. And Chris Sabin was standing there watching this, and he did not try to break this up. Instead, he started laughing and holding his Johnson. And finally, Geeks ran in to break it up, and every one of them copped a feel on the girls. And that was actually the story of this show, because it was not the only time this happened. We had Team Christian backstage. All 5 were behaving in a manner that real human beings do not behave, but that's actually what makes these 5 great.
drink some.
I'm not going to check your ID. Drink it. Come on, sip it. Come on. Boys, listen up. I'd like to propose a toast to Team Cage. You know, I'm going to go out on a ledge here, and I'm just going to say it. We've already won at lockdown. That's what I call an unstoppable unit. Right, Scotty?
Right. You remember Hero Jima? Remember when the Pearl Harbor Prophet Sherman? Well, it's DJ all over again, brother.
The scary thing is he's not even drunk yet. All right, guys. You know what? Yeah, I got a better idea. Let's turn this party up a notch, huh? I know a good club down the street, and you know what? They love me there. They love me everywhere. Let's go down there and party like it's 1999. All right, guys. Hey, everybody except for Abyss. You almost got Tonko killed tonight. You almost ruined the whole plan. So you know what? We're going to go out and party until you learn how to be a real team player. Until then, we can stay here and clean up this crap. Let's go, boys. Let's go, boys.
You heard him. Get up and clean this mess up. Now. Well, okay. Well, if you'd like me to call Mother Abyss, I can do that. I suggest you have this dump immaculate before I get back. Or else.
They were all screaming and doing this, and then Steiner screamed, and I quote, "Hey, remember Hiroshima, and remember when the Pearl Harbor bombed the Germans? Well, it's D-Day all over again. Woo!" I don't know what that means. He was very passionate. And then Christian said, "We're all going to go party at this club down the street." And I should note, by the way, that Tonka was back there celebrating, even though he'd lost in the opener. He did not give a shit about losing. So they said everyone was going to party except Abyss. He had to stay and clean up. And Abyss was violently angry that he did not get to go and party at the club. Which made me sad, because the idea of skits with Abyss in the dance club, molesting girls, that to me, that's a skit. That's a skit right there. I'm going to take you off probation for a minute.
Why is that?
How about you shut the fuck up and stop ruining jokes?
Well, I didn't realize you were making a joke. I thought you were just being stupid.
Well, can I at least finish before you point out stupidity to make sure there's nothing more?
I will, in the future, try to remember to not interrupt you when you're being stupid.
Jesus Christ. You know you're a horrible host?
Yes.
Let me tell you why. Because when I want you to talk, you don't. And when I'm actually trying to talk, you just jump in.
Well, here's the thing.
We need a balance here.
The reason you want me to talk is because you have nothing to say about the subject. The reason you have nothing to say about the subject is there's nothing to say. Therefore, you say...
What?
That's what I have noticed. Because the reason... You only want me to talk when you have nothing to say about whatever we're talking about.
No, I give my thoughts, and then I pause so I can hear your thoughts.
I see.
And instead, I usually pause, and you go, "Yep, good segment." And then, when I'm in the middle of giving my thoughts or telling a funny joke, you're like, "Wait a second, it wasn't the end of the show. There's 45 minutes to come."
That was a funny joke?
It would have been. You ruined it.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to ruin your funny joke. My bad.
I'm trying to fucking give you the office.
Okay, I grant that I often have just nothing to say about this bullshit. I fully admit that. Some of the stuff is not worthy of comment, frankly.
Make something up, then.
And I will also grant that when I do have something to say, I get so excited about the fact that I have something to say that I speak in at rude moments.
You can't just hold on for like 5 seconds.
I should.
Let's practice.
I will try to do better.
Let's practice.
I will try to do better at making up bullshit instead of not saying anything and withholding my valid points when I do have something to say.
Just withhold them for 2 seconds so I can finish my thought. I'm not saying withhold them till next week. I'm saying wait 10 seconds. Because I guarantee there's going to be a moment when I stop talking.
Will.
And give you the office.
Let's see. I still think we need to go to the sign theory. You hold up a sign that says speak. That's when I go.
I figured just looking at you and stopping talking would be a signal to go, and apparently that's just not enough.
No, it doesn't work that way.
God. Jesus Christ. We need to have a webcam. Just people watch you perform. I sit here and I stare at you, and I close my mouth, and I sit back away from the mic, and you're like, "What's he doing that for?" I'll just sit here quietly.
Well, those are the times when I have nothing to say.
And then I start telling a joke, and you're like, wait a second, the chickens can't cross the road. They're in the pen. If I were going to say, why did the chicken cross the road? You'd cut in.
Oh, boy.
VKM and LAX. For some reason, Christie came out to give them a piece of her mind. I wrote a piece of their mind. That would suspect... Anyway. So Lance Hoyt picked her up by the ass and carried her backstage. And then we had... Let's see. What did we have? Oh, VKM and LAX. They had a match, and it was fine. The Latino Nation inexplicably hit the ring for the DQ. And then Team 3 ran down to make the save, and Bubba cut a promo saying that they accepted LAX's challenge for the pay-per-view. It will be an electrified cage match for the NWA Tag Team titles. And fans were really into this. It was a fine little promo, and I guess people will buy the pay-per-view, but I don't know. What is an electrified cage?
Apparently it's the cage, and they will just plug it in.
What is that? How do you prove it's electrified? Does the ref touch and go, oh?
I would imagine there'll be hokey spark special effects. It'll be cheesy like Ned Wood production.
Well, what happens if somebody hits the button when the girls are in there or something like that?
Well, they won't be plugged in when the other matches are going on.
It's a plug.
I want to see a scene where they take an extension cord out from the back, take it all the way down the ramp, and plug it into the cage.
And that electrifies the entire cage.
That electrifies the cage, yeah. That's what I want to see happen.
Boy, that's going to be one hot fence right there. One extension cord?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know
how it works. Anyway, that's the match. Then we had Borash interviewing Angle. Joe was screaming at him. He said he still hated him. I thought they were friends. I've long since given up. He said the reason he signed for this deal was because, what did Tony say here? Tony just PM'd me. I'm watching the Pride pay-per-view in 15 minutes.
Tell him have fun.
We won't.
Tony, as has been noted, is a complete MMA geek who will do things like watch the foreign broadcast of pay-per-views over the internet in a 2.5-inch window and enjoy it.
Dumb ass. You can actually get it on pay-per-view in 15 minutes.
Oh, well, okay, yes, he's doing that, but he's done the other thing before, too.
Come on over. We will be up till 6. 6 o'clock? They have a 6-hour window? All right, anyway, while we're doing this, let's do this PM conversation. 5 hours. There's a 5-hour window. Jesus. How much for that? This is life at Figure 4 headquarters.
This is what Brian's every day is like this.
It is. Just windows popping up all over. $40 for 5 hours? We're not watching all 5 hours tomorrow, I hope. So how are they going to do? They're going to edit it?
You're asking me?
So is tomorrow's show edited to 3? I don't know. I think he's thinking we're going to watch a 5-hour pay-per-view tomorrow.
He's free to think that if he wants.
This show is 5 hours. That's a lot of exclamation points and question marks right there. All right, so I'm telling.
What the fuck were we talking about? Oh, we're not ready to go back yet?
We're doing the show, by the way. This is on the air, just so he knows. Yeah, so they were all arguing back and forth, and basically Angle said, listen, Sting and Abyss were supposed to be our partners, but Abyss is a madman, and Sting won't return my calls. And he said, next week we will have 5 men. So I guess, for those who don't know who the 5th man is, it's Jeff Jarrett. So,
okay.
There you go.
He's going to be the mysterious hero to come in and save the day.
Yeah.
Woo!
Austin Starr and Senshi in a submission match. This was the best match they had on Impact in a long time. They just gave them time to have a match. They went all the way through commercial. Everything was going great. They were working real hard. Things were great. And then all of a sudden, Senshi got locked in a hold, and Bob Backlund didn't want him to see him hurt, so he just went in and threw in the towel.
This is, of course, a callback to the most famous match of Bob Backlund's career, which no one watching had a clue about.
Can anyone just do a job? That's what I want to know. So anyway, then we had a pre-taped interview with TNA and Sting. During this interview, scary music played.
Well, scary and then sad music.
This has got to stop.
Either way.
It ruins these segments. It makes them bad comedy.
In all the years I've known you, I've never seen you commit to a project like you did with Abyss. Then 2 weeks ago, he turns his back on you. Last week, we hear this incredible story from James Mitchell about Abyss's past. Have you had the opportunity to digest this information?
Well, first of all, let me just take this chance right now to apologize to Abyss. Chris, man, I want to tell you that I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. I had no idea things would turn out like this. And I thought that by dealing with your past, it would set you free. But, oh, man, I had no idea that it would further imprison you.
Sting, it sounds to me like you've given up.
Do you think this is the way I envision things? I mean, you know what? I came back at Bound for Glory. 1 month, I'm on top of the world. And then 6 months later, I mean, man, for the first time, it's all just like slipping through my fingers. You think this was my dream? I mean, you think this is the way I wanted to go out after 2 decades?
Where do you go from here?
All I know is I gotta go home and look at my wife in the eyes, look at my children in the eyes, look at myself in the eyes, and know that I failed.
Who in 2007 would possibly think that playing this music during these skits is a good idea?
I don't know. TNA management is the only answer I have for you, because I can't imagine anyone thinking, you know, I wouldn't care about this interview, but the sad music makes me sit up and pay attention. I really feel Sting's pain here.
Sting said he had to act. I want to apologize to Chris. I had no idea things were this bad. I thought that if Abyss just faced his past, things would turn out for the best. But instead, it just further imprisoned him. And so TNA said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to look my wife in the eyes. I'm going to look my children in the eyes. I'm going to look at myself in the eyes and know I failed. And then just cut to black. Immediately. I was like, that sucked.
This was also people acting like no one in the real world actually does. But this time it was not great.
No.
This time it was horrible.
Keep that in mind, by the way. Cornette had the mandatory meeting, read the lockdown card. We've got a 5-man escape the cage match with Sabin, Dutt, Lethal, Shelley, and Shark Boy, where the winner gets the X Division title. Robert Roode versus Petey Williams. Jerry Lynn versus Chris Daniels, who no-showed the meeting. Cornette made very clear. Senshi versus Austin Starr with Bob Backlund as the referee. Chris Harris versus James Storm in a blindfold match in a steel cage. Yeah. Gail Kim versus Jacqueline in a ladies match in a steel cage. LAX versus Team 3 in an electrified cage. And Lethal Lockdown with Angle and Team Cage. I'd like to note that, again, we've got matches that probably could be pretty goddamn good without a stupid stipulation, such as Senshi and Austin Starr with Bob Backlund as the referee.
Just let him
fucking
wrestle.
2 cowboys in a blindfold match. Let's handicap everybody and try and, I don't know. So anyway, Cornette said, Angle, where's your partners? And Angle said, I'll have them all next week, blah, blah, blah. Christian grabbed the mic, cut a promo. They were about to brawl when the lights went out. And who should appear to make the save for Kurt Angle's team but Sting?
He was back.
15 minutes. Less. 10 minutes. After deciding he was going to go home and look at himself in the mirror, he was back. I am looking at you. I am now pointing at you.
You're not yet leaned back in your chair. This was stupid. That's all I gotta say. See, okay, this.
Can you wrap wrap up?
Well, what annoyed me about this segment is different from what annoyed you. The fact that Sting was back.
Okay, well, go.
I am numb to the fact that Sting was back. What annoyed me the most was you already have the Lethal Lockdown ruined because both teams can't get along. Both teams all hate each other. And then Cornette makes an announcement, and he said, I'm paraphrasing, but this is close, to give the NWA title some prestige and credibility for a change. The winner of this match, whoever gets the pin for either team, will get a title shot. So now you have the two teams of guys who disagree. Now they're competing with each other. Now they're competing with their own teammates. Meanwhile, poor Christian. He has absolutely nothing to gain in this match. He can only get hurt.
Well, he can get the pin, and then presumably he has no challenger for the next show.
That's a horrible idea.
I'm just telling you, he's not totally hopeless.
I guess, but that's what annoyed me. I didn't care about Sting being back. I cared about the stupidity of taking the team match and making it a sloppy bunch of individuals in a battle royal in a cage.
Let me ask you a serious question.
Okay.
I recapped that segment, and then I looked at you for an extended period of time and made no noise, and you didn't speak. You actually gestured, "I've got nothing to say." Then I pointed my hand at you to further give you the office.
You're very annoyed right now.
And you said, "I've got nothing to say." And you haven't leaned back in your chair. So then I leaned back into the chair, and I pointed at you, and you said, "I've got nothing to say." And so I said, "Well, why don't you just wrap up the segment?" And then all of a sudden you exploded into a 10-minute tirade that was great. Why couldn't you have done that when I first looked at you?
Because I'm not good at segues. And we were talking about different things here. You were talking about... I had nothing to say about Sting being back.
Maybe that's the problem. We don't need segues on this show.
I see.
When I give you the office, talk about bowling or something. Just say something.
Just speak.
So we don't have this moment of awkward silence where I'm looking at you and pointing and waiting for you to just say anything that has anything to do with wrestling.
Why don't we do this then? I'll take a few notes tomorrow about thoughts I have about the day.
Sure.
I'll come prepared, and whenever you give me the office, I will look down on my notepad and rant about whatever's written down.
Let me ask this question, though. There wasn't a segue, so were you just going to hold that thought until I wrap the show up and then announce it tomorrow?
Honestly, I felt that I had a responsibility as co-host of the show to say something about Sting being back, and when I had nothing to say, that frustrated me.
So you couldn't just say, "I have no problem with Sting bringing him back, but," which is actually what you said.
That is out of my means.
Jesus Christ.
I suck at radio.
Well, I'm trying to improve.
I realize you are.
Oh, my God, everybody. What a show this has been.
Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now.
TNA is this coming Sunday, so I guess we might as well talk about that damn show. Everybody's favorite program. Conan promised a huge surprise for Team 3D tonight, I'll say. We had Angle, Sting, Rhino, and Joe in the ring. Sting apologized for not returning Angle's call, saying he had a lot of stuff to deal with, but those issues were now settled. God put him on Earth to be a pro wrestler, and he loved TNA.
He's the one.
He's the one. He said he wanted to know who the fifth man was. Angle said, "Listen, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you who it is later." Joe got mad, ran him down. Kurt said, "Listen, don't question my integrity," in which point everyone went, and he said, "I swear on the U.S. flag, the fifth member will be revealed before the end of the night." Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I figured out a problem with this show that needs to be addressed immediately. It sucks. No, seriously.
Is there a new one?
The problem with this show is Mike Tenay and Don West need to just shut up.
We have noticed this before.
Okay.
But this is a bad example.
Listen, I don't know. I think Jim Ross in an interview once made the comment that sometimes it's okay to not say anything. Sometimes it's okay to just shut up. Joe was in there, and he pretty much said, "I don't trust you, Kurt." At which point Mike Tenay screams, "Joe's saying he doesn't trust Kurt." I was like, no shit. Will you shut the fuck up so I can hear the rest of what he's saying here? You told me what he just said.
You're just repeating what's going on in the ring. You're narrating a promo.
That annoyed me.
That was a particularly bad example of what they do, but they do this all the time. Most promos, when the guy stops to inhale, Mike Tenay and Don West will spit out whatever line they have written down, which is supposed to be funny or enticing or exciting or something, and it's just dumb.
They did end up fantastic later, though, which we'll get into. Chris Sabin and Jay Lethal in a non-title match. Lethal is now Black Machismo. He's doing the Randy Savage gimmick. He has the tights, the fringe jacket, the boots, the sunglasses, the cowboy hat, the mannerisms, the whole 9 yards.
The hair.
More so, he now wrestles like Randy Savage. He does all of his moves, neck snap over the top rope, blah, blah, blah. And the fascinating thing to me is, when he works a match like Randy Savage, who is one of the great workers in the history of WWE, when he works a match like Randy Savage, the people are so much more into it than they are when he works like Jay Lethal.
How could that be?
I don't know. Perhaps working a simple, old-school style where you shine, you have the heat, and then you have a comeback may work. I could be wrong here. I will say that everything he did, all of his mannerisms, everything was awesome, except what a shitty flying elbow.
That one needs some practice.
That's like the most important move is the one he can't do. Of course,
there's still time.
I've never seen anybody do a flying elbow like Randy Savage. Maybe it's just because I grew up as a huge Randy Savage fan, but I've never... Shawn Michaels, I was always like, you're no Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Your flying elbow is no good.
He was very cool. Randy Savage was awesome. People talk about the great wrestlers of the 80s. His name doesn't often come up. And I think it's because...
Well, he had bad days.
He had bad days, and also, at the time, and especially later, he became a total cartoon character.
Yes.
People overlooked what he could do as far as being a wrestler because he was so wacky. And he was wacky then. I mean, even people from the 80s, all they do is do his promos and the oh yeah and stuff. But goddamn, he was great.
Yeah, he was awesome. At the end, when his hip was bad, he would do those flying elbows and kill men.
Well, then
he would actually do flying elbows.
He was less awesome then.
Yeah, but he was still very good. So then we had the announcers running down the card, and I mentioned this also on the Daily Show today. But when they ran down this card, I thought, all right, there's 3 matches I give even 1 fuck about. The rest I don't give 2 fucks about. For those of you doing the math, but the 3 matches were Harrison Storm, which actually I take off the list because of the blindfold stipulations.
Okay.
If this were just a straight match, I'd be interested in seeing it. Not worth paying $30 for, but I'd be interested in seeing that match. The Chicks. I ain't paying $30 for them, but that match has me interested. And the third match is Team 3D and LAX. Wouldn't pay $30, but I'm interested in that match. And I noticed that the common thread among all 3 matches were the storyline's simple. It's either 2 people or 2 groups of people that hate each other.
That is the common thread, yes.
And that's it. You spend a month making it very clear why everybody hates each other. You take a month and have a pull apart maybe here or there. You take a month and have each man explain, or woman in this case, why they don't like each other, and then you say, on this date, they'll all be fighting. And it doesn't matter if it's a real fight or a fake fight.
That's what people want to see.
People want to see... That's like saying, well, you know, Brian, the whole real-fake thing, it's like, Brian, I only watch documentaries. I don't watch films. They're fake. Okay, I guarantee that the biggest documentary of all time still made a smidgen of the money Titanic made. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. People want to see a confrontation, whether it's real or fake. And those are the 3 matches on the show that I actually am interested in because of that very reason.
Because there's option A and there's option B, and they hate each other.
And they hate each other.
As opposed to the main event where there's option A who also hates option A.
Yeah.
And option B who hates option B. And
the main event is so convoluted, and it's like, oh, everybody hates each other, and it's a mystery, and, oh, by the way, we'll get into that in a minute, but all this other wacky someone's mom, all this other shit. Why, who could care?
I don't know.
Except Seber.
There is Seber.
He's gone.
That's sad.
I think he's gone.
Remember when he said he wasn't a TNA fan?
Yeah, that was funny.
And that's all he ever talked about?
Yeah. All right, so we got more with Nash and Lethal. Sanjay Dutt is now playing Vinny Vegas. It's wacky.
This is great just because it was Sanjay Dutt, and it was actually Kevin Nash's Vinny Vegas jacket. It came down to his knees.
Yeah.
It was like a kid playing dress-up.
Wow, what a win for Jay Lethal as he heads
What? Machismo, do you trust me now? I trust you, but
Football soldier.
Work in progress.
Hey, Ben Man, come here.
Ben Man? Look at that, huh?
Nice. Say it.
Vegas.
Come on, say it.
Forget about it.
Wow.
Money, huh?
One more time. How about one more time?
No, I don't want to do it.
Come on, one more time.
One more time.
Let me hear it.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Okay? I'm done.
Ah, man.
Hey, listen, I can work on this.
Work in progress, apparently. So, Eric?
Eric! And Borash! Man, you are as stupid as you look. What did I tell you last time? You don't talk to Eric Young unless you get Robert Roode's permission first. Do you understand anything? Listen, since you're here, get that microphone up nice and tight. Because Petey Williams, as far as I'm concerned, lockdown can start tonight.
Blindfold match. Chris Harrison, get better get used to having two blindfolds on. You know what I'm talking about?
Petey Williams, you want to be a friend to Eric Young, that's fine. Because you won't be a friend for long, because this Sunday night, I'm going to prove to you that it does pay to be rude. Jackie, are you ready for this mixed tag match? Ready to give Gail Kim just a little taste of what's going to happen here Sunday night?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Eric, I want you to sit in that chair, and I don't want you to move. Do you understand me? Sit there and don't move. Don't move. Stay right there.
Petey Williams and Gail Kim versus James Storm and Jackie. Gail Kim looked quite good this evening. Robert Roode took out Gail with a back suplex. She was out for most of the match, and of course she, I believe, she broke free and ran back, and then blah, blah, blah. I recap these matches and I have to read it word for word because I don't remember a fucking thing that happened.
Yeah.
But
the only match I remember from the show, I guess I remember the main event now, but I remember the lethal match being good.
Yeah, because he was Randy Savage.
He was Randy Savage.
So Chris Harris made the save afterwards, and shit happened, and I don't care. All I know is blindfolds suck.
There was shit involving Cowboys and Robert Roode and Eric Young and Don't Fire Eric and chicks, and yeah.
Borat tried to interview Daniels, but couldn't get an answer out of him, and then up walked LAX with Spike, or Runt. He was bound and gagged. Conan had a pistola on his belt, a firearm. Took him down to the ring and said that they were going to shoot him.
This amused me.
It was a taser.
They were going to not only were they going to murder this guy, I thought, they were going to murder him in the middle of the ring on the show.
Yeah.
There may be evidence for this.
Nobody called the cops during the break.
No,
nothing like that. So Bubba came out and commanded them, and I quote, "Do not shoot our brother."
Do not shoot our brother.
So Conan proceeded to shoot the brother. And that was that. The announcers were appalled. They came back from commercial, and TNA was just a new level of Mike TNA.
Well, we should point out, if anyone missed the show, Conan held the gun aloft. It's a black pistol-shaped object, and I thought to myself, he's got a gun. And Mike TNA says, he's got a taser gun. So Mike TNA apparently is far more knowledgeable of personal defense devices than I am, but I thought, okay.
He lives in Vegas.
He does live in Vegas. And at that point, I'm thinking, if I'm Bubba, I would think, just a taser, go ahead.
Bubba was appalled.
Yeah.
So anyway, they freaked out, and everybody just needs to get a tape just to watch TNA and Don West freak out about this, because it was one of those things that was so fucking hilarious, and that was not the intention at all. I mean, we were all supposed to be at home appalled. Instead, we were all at home laughing.
Yes.
Laughing hilariously at these, uproariously is a better word.
If they had actually shot him with a pistol with bullets, I don't think Mike TNA and Don West could have been any more serious.
No, they were just this was too much.
My God, I can't believe what we've just witnessed. Conan, LAX, you crossed the line. This time you went way too far.
Just the sight there of Brother Runt twitching on the ground after Conan shot the taser gun inside him there, and then of course Brother Ray, Brother D-Mike getting all the security in there and getting him out. It was the most disturbing thing I think I've ever seen here at TNA.
So then we had the main event, which was Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. The winner of this match, their team got the advantage at War Games. AJ has new music. It sucks.
It sucks, and it still has the same shitty lyrics.
He did a shoot back rake, which, please explain that to me.
The whole point of the move, at least in 2007, is it's silly. I mean, when we saw Raven and Disco do that awesome comedy match, Raven announced, "I am now going to do a back rake." And he placed his hands on Disco's back and raked him down, and Disco screamed, and everyone laughed, and it was great.
Yeah.
AJ Styles with Samoa Joe dug his apparently sharpened nails into his flesh and tore not just down, like at an angle.
Yes.
Like he was trying to do liposuction.
Yes. And Samoa Joe had scratch marks,
He
blood.
was bleeding.
Yes.
From a back rake.
I don't get it, but maybe it's just me.
Other than that, everything was fine.
So we had a ref bump. Actually, I got to explain this exactly because I'm not going to rant.
Enjoy.
All right, here we go. Joe's making a comeback. He goes for a kick off the top, but AJ pulled the referee in front, so the referee took a bump. So Joe put him in the choke, Christian tap, no ref. So out came both teams to brawl. In the melee, Jarrett's music hit. He came down with his guitar, held up 5 fingers, hit AJ with the guitar. AJ. Joe got the pin.
And Christian tap, that was AJ.
And so, whatever. So Joe got the pin, and don't interrupt me, by the way. Just let me fuck up on my own. So held up the fingers, clobbered AJ. Joe got the pin. So now apparently the good guys have the advantage in War Games. Now you may be asking yourself, well, Brian, why would you have the good guys have the advantage in the War Games? Because that means they're always at a numbers advantage against the bad guys, and thus they're not really good guys. This is bad psychology. There's a reason that every single War Games in the history of man has had the heels have the numbers advantage. Well, there's a young man booking by the name of Vince Russo. And he's like, well, it's never been done before. We've got to give the Babyfaces the advantage in War Games. And everybody else is like, no. There's a reason for that. This is stupid. This is Jeff Jarrett's big babyface return, and he's going to go in there with a numbers advantage. This is not going to get nearly the reaction it would get if he was outnumbered. So Russo got very, very upset, and this, that, and the other thing. And anyway, this is the compromise. As of this show, the Babyfaces have the numbers advantage. But what they're going to do is they're going to go on the internet. They're going to go on TNAWrestling.com and have Jim Cornette announce, apparently, that because of the interference by the Babyfaces, because the Babyfaces cheated. I'm not making this up. Because the Babyfaces cheated, the heels now have the advantage.
Awesome.
Now, as stupid as that is, they are so stupid that they didn't think to not have AJ Styles pull the ref in front of him. So really, the heels were the ones that cheated first. But still, because I guess
I am so confused right now.
Babyfaces cheated to actually get the pinfall in the end, because their cheating immediately led to a finish. They're the ones that are no longer going to have the numbers advantage.
Why would anyone watch this show?
I'm just telling you what's happening.
I'm asking a question.
I don't have an answer for you. So anyway.
So the show went off the air. Jarrett's at the top of the ramp. He's holding the remnants of his guitar and holding 5 fingers, saying, I am number 5. All the Babyfaces in the ring pissed off. Which, I guess in storyline makes sense, but Jesus Christ, the show is in 2 days. 3 days from when this was on TV. You want to see the teams as a unit. You want to see them all standing together, fighting for a common goal. Now they all hate each other. Dumb.
Everybody hates each other.
And even for Jarrett's big return. Forget what you think about Jarrett. Forget if you hate him, you love him. You think, okay, Jeff Jarrett's returning to the company for the first time in months. It should be a big deal. So there's 8,000 men in the ring. It's like watching 300 again. There's just men flying everywhere and fighting. Jarrett's music hits. The crowd reacts a little bit. The announcers don't react at all. Like they didn't hear it. And I'm like, did someone hit the cue early? Is this song not supposed to play now? And then suddenly Jarrett's in the ring. He just shows up. There's a blonde guy with a guitar. And he holds up 5. He whacks AJ. The crowd did go nuts. So by that point, they figured out everything worked. But I thought, my God, your return was lame.
That was his big return. And he cheated. So they are going to lose their advantage in War Games, which I guess means everybody's going to be even madder at each other. So, welcome to TNA, everybody. Welcome to TNA. 30,000 buys. You'll wonder why.
Actually, I do. I wonder why it's that high.
Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline
rush. We watched the TNA show, and I'd heard things about the blindfold match, and I had gotten word that there were 2 worst match of the year contenders. And after the blindfold match, I thought, what could possibly give this one a run for its money? And then we saw the electrified cage. His show sucked 10 cocks. Hate to use such terminology, but it was pretty bad. And then, I don't know. It started out so promising, and then it just fell right off a cliff. They were not in St. Louis. They were near St. Louis. There was about 5,000 fans in the building, and they were hot. It was like the first match started, and it was like, holy shit, we're watching a TNA show here in front of 5,000 rabid fans in St. Louis or near St. Louis, or they just called it St. Louis, so we'll call it St. Louis. All these 5,000 fans, and they're having so much fun, and boy, did TNA just kill those fucking fans dead. By the end of this show, Buddy said they killed the town, they'll never be back, he may very well be right. This was some dumb shit. And we'll get into it as we get on here. Vinny?
I said at one point they killed the city, and Buddy said...
You said a lot of stuff at one point, so knock it off. Go on.
And you yell at me for interrupting.
I don't need any sexual comments about TNA on this show, young man. Go on.
I said they killed the city. And Buddy said, yeah, they'll never have wrestling there again. And I said, no, I don't mean for wrestling, I mean for humanity.
I see.
So all the people are going to leave.
Well... There was an Escape the Cage match where the rules, number 3, was leave St. Louis. You had to escape the cage and apparently leave the town in order to win. And we never saw the winner leave the town, but I presume he did, because God knows that's how you had to win this match. It was by the way, this was the Lockdown pay-per-view. It was supposed to be 6 sides of steel, but instead it was 6 sides of cable. Like the cable that you would make ropes out of. They constructed some sort of... I don't even know what...
A web? A net?
Kind of like that old game where you put the chips down the thing.
Connect 4?
Connect 4. It was like a giant Connect 4 made out of cables on all the sides, and it didn't look very dangerous at all. You threw somebody in a wire or into a cable, and they were supposed to gig. It didn't have the loud sound of crashing into a cage or whatever, and we'll just get into the stupidity of this cage match deal a little bit later on. But anyway, the first match was Escape the Cage. Jay Lethal, Chris Sabin, Sanjay Dutt, Shark Boy, and Alex Shelley. Of course, it's TNA, so it can't just be the winner is the champion. This is for the X title. It has to be, okay, it's an elimination match. When it comes down to 2 men, it's Escape the Cage rules. And God knows if they informed the fans of this, because you would think not based on their reactions. Started out great. Fans were into it. Guys were going crazy. Everything was cool. Shelley and Sabin were a great team. So great that I had WCW flashbacks and presume that at TV they will be broken up and be feuding together. And it came down to Sabin, Shelley, Machismo, and Dutt. The crowd completely died. Sanjay made his comeback, and no one cared. And it was not his best night. And Machismo pinned Shelley with his Randy Savage flying elbow, which looked no better than on Thursday. And it came down to... Who did it come down to? Lethal and... Sabin. They climbed over the top, and they did the stupid spot where you're both outside the cage over the ground, and you start hitting each other. And I always think, why would you do that? Because if you hit the guy, and you win the fist fight, you win because he falls down, and if he falls down, he wins the match. So why the fuck would you hit him? So they're brawling, and finally Sabin kicks his leg into the mesh or whatever, so he's stuck. And then Chris Sabin dropped down and won. And Black Machismo was left hanging around like a total nerd. And it was probably 2 3/4 star match. They tried very, very hard, but it was one of those matches where, no one saved anything for the end. It was everything at the beginning. So by the end, no one gave a shit. It's like you start with Hurricane Ranas and dives and flying, and then it ends when you're both sitting there on the side of the cage hitting each other. And you wonder why nobody cared. So that was that match.
This was one, I know the answer to this question, so don't feel the need to give it. But I asked the question, why not just do a tag team match?
Because this is TNA.
And they have to get everyone on the show. Sabin and Shelley, I understand they've been teaming in Ring of Honor lately and other indie feds, and you were right. They were a fine team. All their double teams looked good. They worked great together. Everything was going fantastic. And the Macho Man thing, I don't think it's going to last long. I think the novelty's going to wear off.
Why? I'm fine with it. He's a better worker as Randy Savage than he is as Jay Lethal, so I got no problem with that.
I hope you're right, but I just imagine someone I don't know if anyone, I doubt anyone bought this, and this is their first exposure to TNA, but watching that and saying, hey, it's a Macho Man ripoff. And it's just weird.
There was an interview segment that he did with Letitia, and I just watched it and I thought, does she even know who Randy Savage is?
Yeah.
I'll bet the answer is no. And I should also know that Buddy Wayne came over for this pay-per-view, so we can talk to him about it on Thursday on the show. But the point was, he's not a big follower of TNA, so we had to explain everything to Buddy Wayne. And boy, trying to explain these angles to a guy that doesn't watch TNA was quite the task. He had no idea what was going on, nor did he care. And it was impossible to make him care about some of this bullshit. So
we also had to explain to him this woman had a job as an interviewer with TNA. She was not like on her way to the mall and stopped in her T-shirt and jeans and hoop earrings.
She wasn't even in jeans. She was like in just like black tights, like she just got back from yoga. Borash was interviewing Team Christian, who first they were happy because Cornette had reversed the decision from Thursday because the bad guys had cheated, or the good guys had cheated, even though the bad guys cheated first. You know?
We discussed that one already.
Of course you don't. So then then they were all mad at each other because they were arguing about the title shot, and there was ranting and raving and screaming, and it was just mind-numbing, a complete mess.
This was bullshit.
Robert Roode and Petey Williams, they had Tracy Brooks and Eric Young out there. Eric Young, of course, against his will. And again, I asked the question, why is Robert Roode holding Eric Young hostage? Answer this question for me, please.
Because you would think if he hates him...
Because he wants to be popular? Well, his plan's backfiring. How? Okay, if Eric Young's plan is to employ Eric Young so that Robert Roode will be popular with the fans, how is he looking to put this plan into action? That's my question. Because there doesn't seem to be any plan of action. He drags the man down to ringside, he berates him, nobody cares, they still boo him. Where are you going from here, Robert Roode? Well, of course, there's no answer because this is TNA. Why can't Eric Young just quit?
Well, because then he won't be allowed to wrestle again.
Why? Why will he be out of the wrestling business if Robert Roode fires him from his wacky group? Is Robert Roode an employee at Panda? Why?
I believe the answer is because.
I hate this more than Abyss and his mom and dad and the gun.
That's actually perfectly...
I
don't blame you at all.
Because at least I can explain to myself that the Abyss storyline makes sense because no one watches TNA, right, including the authorities.
Including the law.
I'm the only person that watches this show and the people on our website. And none of them are in law enforcement. And if they are like Carl Stern, they don't give a shit.
It's out of their jurisdiction.
That is how I justify the Abyss storyline. This storyline, I can't justify in any way.
You cannot. You can't close the logicals.
In no way can I make any sort of logical explanation for anything that's going on in this stupid fucking storyline. So they're out there and they have this match, and you know, they did a match. With Robert Roode and Petey Williams, I should probably mention that, and it was, you know, a fine little by the numbers match, and so, anyway, Tracy tried to hand Roode a hockey stick, but Young confiscated it. So, the best part of this was Roode wanted the stick when he was in control. And I was like, why do you need the stick then? You're beating the shit out of the man. Why do you need control? Mm-hmm. What do you need the stick for when you're in control? So, Eric Young grabs the stick from him and shoves down the girl, and then he goes to hand the stick to Petey Williams. So Petey used it and hit Roode twice right in front of the ref, which was not a DQ. But then the third time, the ref took it and threw it out of the ring. So apparently there's like the rules of TNA changed by the moment. It was okay to use the stick twice, but on the third time that wasn't allowed. So after the babyface had hit the heel with the stick 2 times and not gotten the pin, the heel pinned him clean. Petey went for the Canadian Destroyer, and then Roode just escaped and hit a fisherman suplex and pinned him clean. Mm-hmm. That was it.
That was the end of the match.
Everything about this, I will give credit to Petey Williams and Robert Roode because they worked very hard, and Robert Roode actually looked really good, but aside from that, just utter bullshit. I mean, just two guys put in just the stupidest fucking situation, the stupidest storyline, the stupidest booking, and it's the story of TNA. Take what could be a good match and make it bad. Make the guys have to fight to have it not be bad.
That was the story of this show especially, but in TNA in general. And I guess the good news for Petey is that he's lost his feud, so maybe he's out of the feud now. Maybe he'll move on to something else. Robert Roode is stuck with a shitty gimmick. Yes. That poor fucker.
So Angle had to go meet with everybody backstage and explain that Cornette had reversed the decision because of Jarrett's interference, and Rhino said he could forgive and forget, but Angle better go tell Joe. Gail, Kim, and Jackie, once again, they worked hard. The best part is, it was Escape the Cage, but they were like both brawling outside the cage before the match. I was like, okay, so whoever jumps in first, do they just lose?
That makes sense if you think about it.
Because the other person's already out.
Yeah.
So they both ended up getting in, and they had a match, and I don't know. They tried. The director of TNA needs to be hung from a tree.
Yeah, firing is not good enough. He must be tortured.
By the leg. I don't want people thinking I want to kill somebody, but this person needs to be sent out to pasture, because let me explain something to the director of TNA, who is the worst director I think I've ever seen. There's a thing called rest holds. A guy puts another guy in a chin lock, okay? When two dudes are laying on the mat in a chin lock, do a long shot of the crowd. When two dudes are running the ropes, don't take a long shot of the crowd there, dumbass, because something may happen. Jackie gave Gail a German suplex and dropped her right on the head, but guess what? We didn't see it, because in the middle of the high spot, the director did this long shot showing the whole crowd. And then, I swear to Christ almighty, Jackie puts her to chin lock. And this was when the director just decided to hold that shot, a close-up of the chin lock. How can you possibly be so stupid?
I don't know.
You're employed as a director of a wrestling show, and you're so fucking stupid. They do this all the time. This guy misses finishes. He misses high spots. How?
I don't know. You would think that this applies to any sport. There's always... And I don't care what sport you watch. If it's hockey, racing, football, there's exciting stuff and there's boring stuff. Show the crowd during the boring stuff.
I am sweating bullets right now, just ranting about the stupidity of this dumb fuck. So then anyway, the finish, Jackie was by the door, so you'll never guess what happened. Gail slammed the cage door on her face. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen that one before. And she had the opportunity to escape, but no. She decided to climb up and sit on top of the cage and do a high cross, of which she completely overshot Jackie. And you know, if she'd overshot her by another inch, she would have just gone straight over her head.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what they would have done, because this was the finish. As it was, she, like, dove off the cage, and her rib cage hit Jackie's forehead, and Jackie took the bump, and they sold it like she'd been knocked unconscious. And Gail crashed and burned, but of course she made the cover and got the pin. And the effort was there, but 2 1/4, and I'm being very generous.
It would get worse. It's definitely not the worst match we saw tonight, but it was nothing special, absolutely nothing you need to go out of your way to see, and certainly nothing you'd want to pay money for.
Austin Starr and Senshi with Bob Backlund as the referee. Bob Backlund's insane, but you know what? He actually was not a detriment to this match.
No?
He's a 58-year-old man. He looks at least 20 years younger. I've actually seen guys that are 38, and he looks 20 years younger. But he had this he did fine, and they had a good match, probably 3 stars, maybe even the best match on the show for all I know. And they worked very hard, and it was good stuff, and Starr hit the 450, but Senshi kicked out, so Starr and Backlund got in an argument, and Backlund pushed him into a rolling reverse cradle by Senshi, and then counted the pin, and Starr freaked out afterwards and said if Backlund thought he was crazy, he hadn't seen nothing yet. So apparently they're going to have a battle of just madmen, which I'm fine with.
That's what we encourage on the show. It's really what the show is a battle of madmen. I don't know what the fuck was up with Austin Starr's hair tonight. We were trying to figure out which 1970s sitcom character he looked like. Buddy was saying he looked like Christopher Lloyd from Taxi. I thought he looked like Larry from Three's Company, but regardless, it was odd. But
which one was Larry?
Larry was the friend. It was
not Mr.
Not Mr. Furley. That was Don Knotts. No. Larry was the friend.
I was going to say, if you were thinking he looked like Don Knotts, then Buddy wins.
No, I was not thinking of that guy. The good news is this probably was the best match in the show. Both guys are good. Senshi in particular, you watch most of these guys like Sanjay Dutt, and they're doing their flippy moves, they get up. Sensei's offense, and I know what you're going to say, but his offense looks like he's trying to hurt his opponent and win the match. Probably because he's actually kicking the hell out of them. But it's like when he goes on offense, it makes everybody else in the show just like a total clown. He is so much better than all of them.
I will not go that far. Steiner killing folks, Angle killing folks.
I was thinking more of the X Division guys.
I see.
More of the Sanjay in particular, but other guys. Even Austin Starr in this match. It's like it was like when Starr was on offense, it was okay. They're doing stuff, and then Senshi took over. It was like okay, now the show has begun.
Senshi was very great this evening. So then we had there were two things on the show that were by far the greatest things on the show. They were both interviews. The first was by Samoa Joe. Everybody needs to see the Samoa Joe promo. It was awesome. And everyone also needs to see the Conan promo.
Yes.
It was awesome. These two promos were fantastic, and it made me happy to be a wrestling fan.
I'm here at the Samoan Submission Machine, Samoa Joe. Joe, you've asked for this time to make a public statement in regards to Jeff Jarrett being number 5, and I got to ask you, Kurt Angle, he wants to know where you are. He wants to track you down.
Kurt's going to track me down. Kurt's looking for me. Well, where were you, Kurt? Where were you 2 weeks ago when I wanted to know who my partner was? Where were you? When I asked you, when I pleaded with you, when I begged you to tell me who our 5th man was, you were nowhere to be seen. So if you want to find me, it's not that hard. It's never been that hard, Kurt. In fact, it's always been a little bit too convenient for you to not find me when it counts. Oh, and when you want to find me, tell me that Jarrett lost his advantage tonight. How convenient! How convenient, Kurt! For all the integrity that you got, you have no intelligence! Don't you see what's happening? Don't you see what's going on around you, Kurt? Can't you open your eyes? You scumbag, Jarrett! You think for 1 minute you have me fooled! You see, for as much as I hate Kurt, for as much as I despise Kurt, you and me, we will never get along. We will never get along. And as for tonight, make your move, Jarrett. I know what's coming. I know what you want to do. I know what your plan is. And I beg you to cross that line. Come at me, because when you do, I will be there waiting. I will break you. I will maim you. I will kill you. And for anybody else that gets in the way of my title shot tonight, you will feel the same fate. It's a war tonight, and I go to war handicapped. But I'll be damned if I don't come out the victor.
Joe basically said he was going to kill anybody that tried to stop him from getting his title shot tonight. They would die, he said. And it was great.
He built up to that. He said he would beat them, then maim them, and then kill them. But yes, he promised violence, and he's a very angry, scary Samoan. And I would not want to be the guy who got in his way.
Then we saw the worst match in the history of St. Louis wrestling, dating back decades. A match that had, God, if Larry Matisic was at this show, I don't even know what to say.
That event, oh, what a shot! And the referee's going to have to put the hood back on. But that's what I'm talking about, what a vicious shot by Wildcat Chris Harris, and he just nailed James Storm with it.
Well, you're right. The hood went flying right off the head of James Storm. He just got rocked. Rudy Charles applies that hood right back on the head of Storm. And then the cheap shot from Storm caught him with the knee. Exchange here now. You see the scoop and a slam by Storm.
And you can see now that James Storm wrestled James Storm on even footing with only one eye.
Well, Storm lucked out that time. He was backing towards that corner, and he just raked right through that hood, right through that blindfold. He just raked the eyes of the Wildcat.
Oh, now look at this. He doesn't want to put it back on. And he's just going to the crowd as they're yelling at him. And he puts it back on now, but it's still an advantage to him. He kind of has an idea now where the Wildcat Chris Harris is. One shot after the other. They can almost feel each other. And, oh, again, Storm. Oh, but he spears him right off the top of the rope, and Storm doesn't even have the mask on.
Oh, yeah, the hood being put back into place now by senior official Rudy Charles. And now here comes the count from referee Charles. And up to a knee. You can see Storm back up to both feet now. Swing and a miss. Shot off into the ropes. He just backed right up into the Wildcat. Now Harris takes him up. Full Nelson slams him down. Pin two. Got him. Shoulder up. And again, the hood has come off the head of the Wildcat Chris Harris.
And you can see that hood's come off and they put it back on. But Wildcat Chris Harris, though, able to get a glimpse of where James Storm is right now.
It was so bad. Okay.
Let's start at the beginning.
Did I not say several days ago that this was a stupid idea? I could have sworn I did.
The blindfold match inside a steel cage?
I have been known to be a wrestling prophet. If you look back at old issues of Figure 4 Weekly, ask Nut Bunnies. I was a wrestling prophet here. Unfortunately, it didn't take much prognostication to determine that this was going to suck.
You may not be in the minority predicting a bad match here.
They have Chris Harris and James Storm, who had been a tag team for 4+ years, dating back to the very beginning. They'd been a tag team forever. They were such a great team, at least according to the TNA fans, that when they first were about to break up, there was a great backlash. And they were not broken up. They remained together. And then pretty soon everyone's like, okay, you can break them up now. So they did the big angle to break them up, and this was going to be they've never had a singles match. They've never had a singles match. This was the first match of the feud. And they decided the first James Storm versus Chris Harris match would be a blindfold match in a steel cage. Because James Storm cost Chris Harris 70% of his vision. I don't know what he needed that 70% for, but that was the stipulation. A blindfold match in a steel cage. They were not blindfolded. They had hoods put on them. And as soon as the bell rang, the people were chanting, "Fire Russo." 10 seconds into the match, they were chanting this. And the men stumbled around, not making contact. Like 2 minutes, they stumbled around, not touching each other. The fans chanted, "We want wrestling." So finally, Harris punched him, and Storm's hood fell off. So the ref put it back on. You see, there were these hoods that had drawstrings, but they didn't actually pull the drawstring, because, maybe you wouldn't be able to breathe. So the hoods kept falling off. The fans chanted, "Boring." They had more wackiness and involved hoods falling off and such. Harris's hood actually fell off when they were on the top rope, and the best part was he had no hood on, but Storm did. And Harris had to pretend like he couldn't see the blindfolded man about to give him a spear off the top rope. Fell into the ring. Harris hit a full Nelson slam, and his hood fell off, and the ref was more concerned about the hood than the pinfall. And the fans were chanting, "End this now." They were chanting, "Someone stop this." Harris actually went to put a Scorpion Deathlock on Storm, but actually put it on the referee instead. And as the ref was down, the dastardly Storm took his hood off, hit a super kick, put the hood back on, and got the pin. It was horrible. Anybody, including you, Vince, that says this is the worst match you've ever seen, I will say you are sorely mistaken. And I will sit you down and make you watch some of the aforementioned horrible matches if you think this was the worst ever. This was, don't get me wrong, horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. But not the worst match I've ever seen.
Okay, here's why I will just disagree with that last statement. They were fucked from the beginning. They had the shitty gimmick. They knew it. The fans knew it. The ref knew it. Everyone knew it except those who actually could put this together. So they did what they could. They did all the blindfold spots. They did the, I will walk around, even though I know he's starting the opposite corner, I will walk around the ring and hope he's still there when I get there. They did that. They did, we will cross across the ring and just miss each other 2 shifts passing in the night. They did that. They did the, we will accidentally back into each other, swing a punch wildly, and both fall down. They did all that. They did everything they could try. And then the shit happened with the hood starting to fall off. Storm's hood fell off, they put it back on. They kept doing their wacky blindfold match. Storm's hood fell off a second time, and that's when I noted, hey, his hood keeps falling off because the drawstring has fallen out. He was standing there in the corner, holding the hood in his hands, looking at the ref. Harris is over the other corner, blindfold on, and the drawstring is clearly lying there in the middle of the ring. So the ref takes the drawstring, picks it up, and throws it out of the crowd, then walks over and places the hood with no drawstring onto James Storm's head. So here is James Storm, the evil cowboy who attempted to blind his tag team partner, who now has a hood that is being on his head, and the only thing keeping it on there is his moral code. It's his view of justice to keep the hood on himself so as not to use an unfair advantage on his opponent. At that point, they should have just ended it. And because they did not, because they said, no, We've got to get all our shit in. That is why it was the worst match I ever saw.
I can't even believe you would call this the worst match you've ever seen.
Because I'm grading it somewhat on a curve in that I'm offended that they thought, we'll save it. We'll do the spear on the side of the cage. That will save the match. The fact that they had that arrogance, that offends me.
The Naturals versus Matt Farmer and Christelle Sol was a better match than this.
Okay. Well, maybe not. It's very close.
The Bushwhackers versus Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov was a better match than this.
Honestly, I remember nothing about that except the soft slam. I have to watch that again and make a judgment call. I will grant you that the Naturals versus Matt Farmer and Christelle Sol was tied.
That was worse. I take you to task for this because I know that we've even watched Ring of Honor matches where you've gotten physically angry, which you did not get in this match. You were laughing throughout the match at the absurdity.
This may have crossed so far over into horrible that it achieved a perverse entertainment form. So I guess in that sense, I will agree. It was certainly not the most boring match I ever saw, but it was such bullshit.
This was a horrible match. The Avalanche against Big Wood was a better match than this.
Avalanche and Big Wood was not the worst match of that show.
Well,
Blind Drive and the Russian was worse.
Okay.
That was the worst match I ever saw. This was the worst match I ever saw, probably on pay-per-view. I say again, I do not recall most of Sheik and Volkov versus the Bushwhackers, and I've also blocked off most of Briscoe versus Patterson in the evening gown match.
This was very bad, everybody.
This sucked 10 cups.
Very.
If this does not win the worst match of the year, that means we'll see something even shittier, and that sucks.
Yes, this was bad.
This was historically bad.
Then we had Jerry Lynn and Chris Daniels, which these poor fuckers, they had to follow that last match. And, I mean, you've never seen a crowd have the wind taken out of its sails like this crowd was after that last match. I mean, they didn't care about anything. They were done. They were finished.
They stayed only because they had paid money.
These guys came out, and it's like the crowd was dead. They knew the crowd wasn't going to react to anything, so they just did their match. It didn't matter. They did everything. They got no reaction for anything. They just kept working. They worked and worked and worked, and they traded near falls. And the funniest part to me is after all of this, Daniels did like that thing where the downward spiral or whatever off the top rope, and everyone chanted, "This is awesome."
Yes.
And I was like, no, it's really not. Seriously now. That chant needs to be, somehow the fans need to be punished when they chant that. And let me tell you when you make that chant. When you're watching a match and you can't help but chant, "This is awesome." Like when you're jumping up and down and sweat's flying and urine is trickling down your leg, then fine. Chant, "This is awesome." Okay? Don't just chant it because after a match that you haven't given a flying fuck about. These fans could not have given 2 fucks about this match. And there's one move off the top, and they all of a sudden start jumping up and chanting, "This is awesome." I was like, you all suck. Every single one of you fans in St. Louis. God bless you all, but you suck. What a waste.
You just got a promo on the fans.
Well, it's ridiculous.
I'm not blaming you.
It's just like, save that chant for when it means something. All you're doing is prostituting what used to be a cool chant. Now it's just retarded.
Now the chant has become a parody of itself.
Yeah, now it's a joke. This is awesome.
When something is so clearly not awesome and you chant, "This is awesome," you keep waiting for the fans to chant, "No, it isn't." Yeah,
why don't they? We need those fans. Anybody listening to this right now, you need to start that chant the next time you hear that stupid "This is awesome" during something that... Don't get me wrong, it was, they tried very hard, and it was pretty good, but no, it was not awesome.
It was definitely not awesome.
There was nothing on this show that was awesome. I'm sorry.
Well, awesomely bad, perhaps. Well, there was stuff I was staring at with my jaw hanging open in awe, but all I remember about this match is the wacky finish where they teased their finishers off the top. And when Jerry Lynn teased the cradle pile driver off the top rope, I thought, no, if you try that, you will kill Christopher Daniels. Don't do it. And they didn't. They dropped down, and then I think they just did like a roll-up finish for the pin.
They did a last right.
A last right for the pin, which is not much better than a roll-up. But
clean pin by Chris Daniels.
It was the match.
Then we had the awesome promo by Conan. Just the best line was, he said he didn't know what was more boring, watching Team 3D wrestle or listen to a Christy Hemme promo. and I laughed.
He's great.
God damn, I laughed. This was such a beautiful promo. Everybody needs to see it. I'd almost recommend buying the pay-per-view for those two promos, but I won't. Don't buy this. LAX versus Team 3D for the NWA Tag Team titles, electrified cage match. Going into this, both teams were concerned about this match because they didn't want it to come off as hokey. And they were assured, this won't be hokey. They were lied to.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, electrify the steel cage! We talked about how dangerous the matches are at this lockdown pay-per-view. I don't think it can get much more dangerous than this, Don West. I understand that at different times there's alternating currents of electricity. There's different levels at different times, the ebb and the flow. And if you make contact with that electrified steel cage, it can absolutely immobilize you. Here we go, Team 3D turned loose.
And I bring up Hernandez. He's got him up high. It's going to be the border dogs.
Can he do it to Brother Devon?
And he throws it right in. And he just felt the electricity snapping.
Neither does the back elbow. And his homicide comes in. He tossed him right into the electrified cage again.
They turned the lights down in the building. They put a spotlight over the ring. There was a tube that they hooked up to the side of the cage in which juice was flowing, they claimed. Turn on the juice, said Mike Tenay. And at that point, there was a humming noise like a flying saucer from a 1955 sci-fi film was hovering somewhere in the building. This just strange buzz. And they said the current was going to come and go during this match. It was going to be, I guess, more dangerous at certain points, but we didn't really know when. I guess when the thing hummed louder, it was more dangerous, but they had a match and nobody cared. I mean, this was the big 20th title win for Team 3D. The next big match is part of their legacy. This, that, and the other thing, and the crowd was just quiet. And I think 3D made a comeback at some point, but I don't know, because there was, they were doing moves. No one cared.
No one cared about any damn thing anyone did.
A phantom member of the Latino Nation took Conan down to the ring in his wheelchair, and who should make the save but Hector Garza?
Guerrero.
Or Hector Guerrero. God, it should have been Hector Garza. Hector Guerrero made the save, and everybody thought that he was going to turn on the Dudleys, but of course he did not. He just threatened to hit Conan. And Bubba asked for a table, and he gave it to him, and just stuff was happening. And I guess the big thing was, I think it was Devon finally got thrown into the cage. And when he hit the cage, the lights flickered, there was a strobe effect, and there was a loud sound that sounded like this. Bzzz. And then he fell in the cage and just started shaking. And everyone immediately booed. It was just the stupidest thing you've ever seen. And, of course, then he was up about 10 seconds later for a doomsday device. So really sold that electrocution right there, Devon. And then somebody else got thrown in. Oh, the finish was supposed to be them throwing Homicide into the cage and buzzing him. And then as he came off the cage, give him the 3D. But, of course, he fell down. They dropped him. So they had to try the finish again, and they hit it the second time. And after finally winning the NWA titles, after finally winning their 20th set of tag team belts, they just cut away.
That's it.
That's it.
That was a celebration.
They just cut away. We didn't see any celebration. They raised their hands and cut away.
They went backstage, and that was the end of Team 3D. This also sucked several cocks. Not quite as many cocks.
This was horrid.
This was a lot of, 4 guys lying under a blue light. They were trying to tease the electrocution by pushing. They were trying to push each other into the fence and fight back. So that was, 2 guys laying there pushing their hand to the fence. The best part was Homicide had Bubba by the wrist. And he's taking his wrist forward and trying to push it into the cage. And Bubba has his fingers stretched out. Like he's trying to touch the cage and then remembers, oh wait, it's electric. and makes a fist to pull his fingers back in the wood.
No, it wasn't even that. It was they were trying to get him there, and I guess to make it look more dramatic, he extended his fingers so they'd be closer. And I thought, why are you saying your fingers?
That will zap you.
Oh God, it was bad. And like there were some spots where they actually were touching the cage on accident, but not getting electrocuted.
Yeah, every time, and guys went up top all the time. Every time they did, they brushed the cage. Nothing happened. Devon in very short order bled, and you know when a black man in a black shirt under a blue light bleeds, you can't see it. It's not there. And everyone bled some, and there was gloves involved, and no one gave a shit about anything. And like you said, when Devon went in for the electrocution, and someone backstage flicked the light switch up and down about 5 times, and that was the end of that. People were just sick with what they were seeing.
They could have just done at the very least, do what WSX does and have the thing blow up.
They could have had a little, put a flash pot up there. Yeah, do something.
A what?
A flash pot's a term for a pyro that blows up.
No, it'd be too hokey. Just blow up the whole cage. You need to put a bomb underneath it every time somebody hits that thing or something like that. This
did not work.
Finally, we had War Games. You know the deal. 2 guys in the ring, 5 minutes, and then everyone else comes in at 2-minute intervals. Listen, there was all the big debate about the order of entry. Vince Russo wanted the heels or the babyfaces to have the advantage. Everybody said, no, it's fucking stupid. The heels are supposed to have the advantage. That's the whole point of the psychology of the match. And so, as we mentioned, they compromised, and then Russo got his way, but they were going to reverse the decision, which they did on this show. So anyway, in the end, the heels had the advantage. And obviously, for those of you new, let me explain how this works. It's like a tag team match. 2 men beat on 1, and then 1 man beats on 2. That's it. So you have a War Games match, and you have a babyface and a heel start out. And then, in order to build heat, the next guy is a heel. Because then you've got 2 heels beating on 1 babyface. Now, if you have the babyface come in first, all of a sudden you've got 2 babyfaces double-teaming 1 heel, and everyone's like, boy, what bullies. Who cares?
And you get sympathy for the heel when he makes his comeback.
Yes, that's not what you want. I'm telling this to Vince Russo since he's so stupid he can't figure out the very simple human psychology dating back millennia. So then the idea obviously is you have the babyface and heel, and the heel comes in, so it's 2 on 1. 2 on 1. That'll work in a million years. 2 on 1. Then you have a babyface come out, and it's a big comeback for the babyfaces, but then another heel comes in. The odds are uneven again, and the heels lay waste to those babyfaces. Just beat the fuck out of them. Then a babyface comes in and evens the odds shortly, but then, nope, another heel comes in. Keep the heat on the babyfaces because they're outnumbered. 300. The oldest story in the fucking book. So anyway, after all of this debate and all of this bullshit and all of this wackiness and reverse decisions and such, they finally get the heels to have the advantage. And what does it mean? Nothing. Because when you had 1 babyface and 2 heels, the babyface just kept making a comeback. Mm-hmm. When you had 2 babyfaces and 3 heels, even though the heels had the advantage, the babyfaces were just in control. And vice versa. Sometimes it would be even and the heels would be running wild, and then you'd have another heel come in, but the babyfaces would make a comeback. Well, there were more heels in the ring. So really, this was an utter failure. All that bullshit about the numbers advantage, and it didn't mean a goddamn thing. Because they didn't use any of the traditional War Game psychology in this match. And you wonder why nobody cared. Until the very end when everybody was in there and everybody started doing stupid shit. Angle and AJ brawled on top of the cage. Joe did a tope to the outside. All sorts of wackiness. They had Harley Race out there. God bless Harley Race, but he can't move. He looks so old and so broken down. It was so sad. And if this were WWE and they were in St. Louis, they'd put Harley Race in the front row. He'd sit there the whole show. They'd put the makeup on him. They'd put him in a nice outfit. He'd wave to the crowd. Everybody would be happy. Instead, Harley Race is out here in sweatpants and a polo shirt, hobbling down to the ring. He can barely move, and they say he's there as the outside. He's there to make sure there's no interference. In a cage match.
That's what the cage is there for.
Harley Race is going to make sure there's no interference in this cage match.
There's no one listening to this who could not have gotten past Harley Race and into the cage.
Jesus God. So then thumbtacks were had to do Abyss, and so here's the other thing I hated. We had guys outside, we had Abyss getting thumbtacks, and we had AJ and Angle on top of the cage. And during all of this, Harley Race punched Jim Mitchell. And he punched him at a point where 3 other things were going on at the exact same time. So they briefly showed it, cut away, and never talked about it again. And it's like, what was the point? What was the fucking point of that? So, ended up with a bunch of guys outside, and Angle threw AJ off the roof, and AJ did a flip dive, basically, on all the guys outside, and they had one camera angle. Our good buddy, the director of TNA, who needs to be hung by his leg from a tree, there was one camera angle. And all it was AJ falling from the top of the cage, and you didn't even see where he landed or who he landed on. He just flew off screen. And then the cameraman backed up, and there was a pile of men.
That's correct.
They didn't have a camera. They didn't have an overhead camera. They didn't have every camera focused on AJ Styles, which you'd think they would. How many angles did they have of Foley going off the cage?
Oh, dozens.
About 15. How many angles did they have of AJ Styles going off the top of this cage? 1. From down below, looking straight up, so he flew off camera. And then all of a sudden they look back and there's men there. Risked his fucking life, and the fucking director didn't get one good shot of it. Beautiful. So, ended up in the ring, and Christian went into the thumbtacks, and this and that, and finally the big finish was Abyss put thumbtacks in a guitar, Jarrett grabbed it, wound up, but Sting was there. Was he going to hit Sting? No. He said, Sting, get out of the way. He hit Abyss, who was just standing there like an idiot waiting for it. So Abyss was down, hit by a guitar filled with tacks, and whoever hit him with it, Jarrett hit him with it. Jarrett points to Sting and goes, cover him. And Sting wasn't sure and thought about it for about a good 20 minutes.
That's what wrestling is coming in 2007.
Should I do this cover? So he finally covers and gets the pin, and then Jarrett shook hands with everybody except one man. One man was angry. Angle.
Not Joe.
Angle. The man who had brought Jarrett onto his team was mad that Jarrett had helped his team win. Welcome to TNA.
And then the show ended. Okay. Stupid thing number 1. You covered this already, but AJ's dive off the cage onto the pile is missed by the camera. This dive was much, much scarier than the dive AJ took last month in the scaffold match. This was a scarier bump than that, and it got missed. Stupid thing number 2. Joe, after cutting the promo about how he will maim and kill anyone who gets in the way of this title shot, calmly shakes Jarrett's hand and welcomes him into the good guy club. So he just didn't care about losing a shot anymore. Stupid thing number 3. As you noted, Angle was the one who was pissed off that his title shot had been taken away, when in fact he was the one who brought it on his team, when in fact he was the one who climbed up onto the roof, therefore making it impossible for him to pin anybody, and then after throwing AJ off, sitting down and going, woo! Like I just killed a man, yeah! And then he just stayed up there. He was trapped, I guess. The original War Games came out when they did War Games during Great American Bash 1987. I was 12, I guess, and the local video store, like Video West or whatever it was called, there was no Blockbuster Video in 1987. They had a copy of this, and I must have rented this 30 times. And I watched it like every weekend when I was 12. I've seen War Games a lot. Let me tell you something. When Dusty Rhodes was being double-teamed by Tully and Arn for 2 minutes, he did not, 15 seconds before the save was about to be made, he didn't make a comeback. No, he took his whooping until someone came to help him out. It's very simple. For 5 minutes, Dusty beat up Arn Anderson. Tully Blanchard came in, they beat up Dusty for 2 minutes. Not 1 minute 45, not 1 minute 50, 2 minutes. Then I think Nikita was in next. I could be wrong on that part, but the point is, it was very neat and clean segments. 5 minutes, one side was winning. But then for 2 minutes, they just alternated. Bad guys had the advantage. They whip ass for 2 minutes. You guys had the advantage. They whip ass for 2 minutes, and it goes, and everything makes sense. It also helped that for that match, both teams were at ringside, and for this match, guys were making the full entrance. They came down the ramp. So for Rhino, hey, his entrance is he sprints down the ramp anyway, so he got there in like 3 seconds. Christian's entrance, he's walking down, moseying down to enter this brutal blood fight, and by the time he gets in, that's 30 seconds of their 2-man advantage gone. Just stupid. This show sucked.
Yeah. I don't understand how pro wrestling can be booked so poorly.
I don't understand. There's nothing simpler than War Games.
Yeah, there was a tag team match, and we've seen that fucked up this year.
I would say War Games is even simpler. All War Games is a series of run-ins. And every time one side gets a run-in, then they win. There's nothing else to think of. There's literally nothing else to think about. It's a series of run-ins inside a cage. That's all it is. And I don't know how, after it has been done correctly, Lord knows how many times in the old NWA/WCW, whatever you want to call it, I have seen it done poorly in Major League Wrestling. I've seen it done poorly in TNA. I've
seen it done poorly in WCW.
And we have seen it done very poorly near the end of WCW. And I don't know how.
Because people don't think.
And I can't blame this one on Russo. Because Russo was not the one making a comeback with 10 seconds to go. No, Angle, that was you. Kurt Angle needs to go back and watch the original War Games to learn how to do it.
Yes, this frustrated and angered me. So anyway, everybody, do yourself a favor. Don't buy this pay-per-view.
Do us a favor. Don't buy this pay-per-view.
Yes. There's a UFC show coming up on Saturday for free. Just watch that and get Backlash or something like that. Or
those matches are also all in a cage.
Get a replay of WrestleMania, or just go fucking buy some old Great American Bashes or something like that.
Yeah.
Or get the goddamn Horseman DVD. For fuck's sake, get the Horseman DVD before you get this stupid fucking show. Just thumbs down. I don't know.
Damn it.
A lot of people tried, but wrestling ain't that hard. Why do people have to make it so hard and so bad?
Everything on the show.
Adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush.
TNA. Mike TNA was in a dark ring. Okay.
Should we just stop the show now? We watched a lot of wrestling this week, folks.
We did.
We're tired of it all.
Don said he had some news that most people might not know, that Jarrett was dealing with a very personal issue. Actually, this is very sad. They have not mentioned this yet, but Jarrett's wife has cancer, and she's taken a turn for the worst, and I am surprised that Jarrett has come back. If I were him, this is not when I would come back. The only thing I can think is he needs something to get his mind off life or something of that nature. But he shows up to the building. He goes to the ring. He does his segment. He was talking here, and he almost lost it. And then as soon as his segment was over, he flew immediately home. I mean, didn't even wait for the end of the taping. So this is, it's all true. It kind of is a little bit strange because it's too true to be making a storyline out of. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
like they're waiting for bad news so he'll be more of a babyface. You know what I mean?
I hope that's not.
I know that's not what they're doing, but that's sort of the way it comes off. You know what I mean?
It was weird. Don West, all he said was an illness in the family.
Yes.
Which, I mean, that doesn't. It's worse than that. You think illness in the family, you think his dad is sick or his mom is sick. It's his wife.
Yes.
And that's, frankly, worse.
Yes.
That's more horrible. And I don't know. It's odd. And the only thing I can think is, and I'm not in Jeff Jarrett's head, I don't know what he's thinking, and I've never been through anything like that, but I can see how someone in that position would want to throw themselves into their work as a distraction or as a way to not feel helpless.
Sure.
As a way to try to do something constructive.
And I understand that, but to take something like that, and now that's part of the fake pro wrestling story, that's the part to me that's weird. Now, this didn't come off as anything. I can't fault this segment or anything like that. I'm just worried about where it goes from here. You know what I mean? I'm very iffy about this. I wish they would just axe that part of the whole thing. I don't want to hear about that whole part of the whole thing because you know, what do you do? What if the worst happens? All of a sudden, they played up on TV and try to get sympathy for him.
That would suck.
That would suck greatly.
That would very violently suck.
But when you're in a situation like this where you know, things are getting very bad, you know, and it's certain things may be inevitable. I mean, when you're in that position, I don't understand why you start, because, you know, if something does happen, then what? Then you're making it into a fake pro wrestling story on a show like this where no one takes anything seriously and everything's a joke. I don't like this.
No,
I don't like it.
Thumbs down for that idea.
They need to end this. The family illness aspect of this needs to be ended immediately. But anyway, he came out and he talked about this and that, Sting, blah blah blah, and basically Sting came out. And then Angle came out, and as they were arguing, Jarrett just disappeared. So, I don't know the whole... Anyway, the whole point was Angle and Sting are going to have a match on TV next week. The very first ever Sting versus Kurt Angle match in the history of wrestling, free on Impact.
With 7 days build.
Yeah, 7 days.
Which is, to their credit, is 7 days more than you would have expected.
7 days build. So,
and yes, for free.
Anyway, Christian and his wacky crew were backstage. Christian said he'd gotten himself a shot at the tag titles. He was berating Abyss, chewing him out for embarrassing the whole team at the pay-per-view. Said that, and then he announced that Abyss was his partner. Yeah, all these guys on your team, and you choose the guy you hate the most.
That was not logical.
No.
That was irrational.
It was very dumb, in fact.
I don't even know why these guys are still a team, because in theory they were only on Christian's side so they could try to get a title shot in War Games. That didn't happen. They're still chums.
You're thinking too much.
I guess I am.
He said if they did not leave the show tonight with 3 belts, you're in big trouble. That was his threat to Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Daniels, Rhino, AJ, and Samoa Joe. And Daniels wore a Sting mask to the ring yet again, so I guess they're going to have a feud at some point. And they had a fine little match there, good little TV match, and then Daniels hit Rhino in the face with the Sting baseball bat as Ruff was distracted and got the pin.
Dave was saying people were raving about this in the reports, and then he added the line, I hope this is edited. I assume this was. This is too. It was fine, but it was not very long, and I think they clipped it for TV, and that sucks.
Borash interviewed Angle, who said earlier tonight Sting made the biggest mistake of his career. He noted that Sting had been in the business 20 years. He'd been in 8. At which point, it's true, but it's impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's had a 20-year career in 8 years.
He broke in 1999.
Yes.
I'd been in the business for a year when Kurt Angle started. How is that even possible?
It's many things about Kurt Angle confound me. Every time I'm reminded that Kurt Angle is older than X-Pac. How can that be?
Well, many reasons why. Gale and Chris Harris came out for a match and then outran Jackie Moore, and they had a little brawl. It ended up with Chris Harris and Robert Roode. Tracy and Eric Young were there. And in this segment, we had 7 people: Harris, Gale, Jackie, Tracy, Young, Roode, and Storm. Everybody doing all sorts of stuff. And Harris hit the catatonic. Tracy pulled the ref out of the ring. Eric pulled Tracy away. Blah, blah, blah. Roode finally clonked Harris with handcuffs for the pin. Are you confused? Good. I am too. I have notes, though. Eric shoved Tracy on her ass afterwards. Roode slapped him around, said he was tired of Eric trying to make a fool out of him. And anyway, it built up to Eric, I guess Petey going, Eric, who's your friend? Or Petey Williams ain't your friend or something.
And Eric said,
he's not my friend.
He's not the friend.
I think no, first he said he's not my friend.
Okay.
And I'm like, what an asshole. Then Roode's like, what do you mean he's not the friend? So Eric's like, I have another friend. And Roode said, well, who's the friend? And I'm thinking, who the fuck cares? What does a friend have to do with anything?
No one knows.
What does a friend have to do with anything? I'm looking at everybody in this room, and everybody's just shaking their head at me. I don't know who cares about this. I don't know what this friend is supposedly doing. I don't know why Robert Roode cares. So Robert Roode says, okay, next week, tell me the friend or you're fired. And Eric's like, done. Oh, no. Oh, no. What am I going to do?
Which, of course, begs the question.
Lie?
You could lie.
Can't you say, my friend's Gary? You want to know who my friend is, Robert Roode? My friend's Frank. He lives down the street. Frank. He can't lie.
You get burgers? Yeah.
Eric Young he's just trapped. He's trapped by his own conscience. He must tell the truth about this secret friend who is his friend. And that's all we know.
And apparently, Bobby Roode is also trapped by his own conscience because he will not force Eric to tell us right now.
No, he is
going to give him 7 days.
You have a week. You have a week to tell us your friend's name.
None of this makes a damn lick of sense. No.
This whole storyline is I could write a book about this. The stupidest storyline I've ever heard of in my whole life.
Bobby Roode versus Eric Young and Why It Sucks by Dr. Brian Alvarez.
Why?
I don't know.
Why can't Eric Roode or Eric Young just quit?
I don't know.
Why is he out of the business forever?
No one knows.
Why does Robert Roode want Eric Young?
A fine question.
What does a friend have to do with anything?
I don't know. None of this matters. None of this means anything.
I would kill for these answers. Do you understand?
Brian, they're not out there.
I gotta get like Dixie Carter on the show or somebody just go, please just explain this storyline.
Screw that, get Eric Young on the show. Ask him.
He doesn't know.
That's my point.
But I want whoever wrote this to try and explain this to me because I don't get it.
Well, no one gets it. It's ungettable.
God.
It can't be getting.
Anyway. Shark Boy! Why can't he say Shark Boy's my friend?
Because no one will believe anyone will be friends with Shark Boy.
My fishy pal.
Anyway, the match was actually okay when you were not paying attention to the other 17 people running around doing stuff. It was the usual story of TNA, two guys who could probably have a good match and then ruined with bullshit.
Jim Mitchell was bitching at his monster backstage, saying if he screwed anything up tonight, the old woman would go to prison for perjury, obstruction of justice, and attempted murder. And he was ranting and raving in a fashion that made it clear that Jim Mitchell hates his storyline. That's all I can say. Then we had another deal with the X Division dudes.
I cannot believe the Black Machismo thing is taken off to the level it has. Like a dress-out prom night here, Kevin.
Right.
So how come I'm not teaming with the black kid next week?
Oh, easy, Imus. What do you mean the black kid?
I mean the black kid. The board says I'm teaming with Kaz Hayashi, who doesn't even work here.
The thing is, I've worked it out. My man's going to go over Sanjay and Black Machismo in a little three-way.
Whoa! Three-way? Hey, give him a one-woman man. Yeah, this is more than enough for me.
I don't doubt it.
We're talking about a match for the belt.
Yeah, making sense now, yeah. Making sense, yeah, you're making a lot of sense.
Everything's taken up. Hey, listen, is everything all right?
Everything's cool? Cool, yeah. Wait. What about Sanjay, huh?
Sanjay, come here, man. Take care of him. Look at him.
Freak. You can step over the top rope now. Look at that, huh?
Shut up! Hey,
shut up. Hey, wait a minute.
Look, I've had enough of this, Kev. Admit it. You ain't got nothing for me, and look at me. I look like a complete joke. All these months, all this nonsense. Kevin, stick it.
Sanjay yelled at Kevin Nash and walked off, and they immediately cut away. Why? I don't know.
And again, Sanjay, Black Machismo, and Alex Shelley all just hanging out.
Just hanging out. This is pointless. Then we had Team 3D versus Christian and Abyss for the tag titles. Long story short, Dudleys knocked Christian to the outside when he tried to run in and hit Abyss with the 3D for the clean pin. Clean, in fact, because he's turning heel, or babyface. So, all of the bad guys came out, and to cut to the chase, cut is the operative word here, by the way. They beat the hell out of Abyss. He cut his head. He cut his arms. And by arms, I mean he put the blade on his shoulder and he pulled straight down to his elbow. On both arms.
Nasty.
They had close-ups of this giant gash. He was screaming in terror, probably because of how much blood he is actually losing in this. He ended up having to get 60 stitches. I would like to note that for this post-match beating, which was a hell of a beating, I might add.
It was effective. It accomplished its goal.
They aired about 1 minute of the really bloody stuff. So he basically got 1 stitch for each second that this was all on the air.
I don't get it.
In a million years, I would never, ever do this shit. But
there is something deeply wrong with that man.
I will say this, though. I will say this. This better be his babyface turn.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they've done this before. They've had many times where he's seemingly turned, beaten up a heel, and then the next week he turns on somebody else, and it's like, okay, well, is he turned? No. Is he not? No. This better be it.
Well, I made the comment.
You can't top this.
After he did the barbed wire match with Sabu, I made the comment, he's going to have a big, thick, pink line running down his forearm for the rest of his life because of this match. I hope it was worth it. And it's still there. You can see it. So, yeah, now he slices open his arms, as you note, from shoulder to elbow, going right through his giant tattoo. It's going to be plain as day. Loses all the blood, has to get stitches. God, I hope it's worth it.
For 1 minute on Impact.
It was violent. It was brutal. It was gross. I will say this. It was memorable.
It was memorable.
All of an Impact ends, and we're sitting here the next day going, what happened on Impact? I remember this. This made an impact.
This absolutely made an impact.
Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline rush now.
TNA Impact. Speaking of the devil, Sting faced Kurt Angle. Welcome to TNA. First ever match between Sting and Kurt Angle for free on television.
In the opener.
That's right. I'd like to note that when I predicted this match was going to go 3 minutes, I hadn't read the spoilers. Okay? I just used my brain.
Right. You've watched TNA before. You know how they operate.
I was, in fact, right.
It went 3 minutes.
With a disqualification.
With a shitty DQ.
Let me pull up the ratings for this wretched program.
Well, sure, they must have done the high twos, I would think.
Oh, no, afraid not.
Oh.
This show did a 1.02.
Wasn't that what they always do?
1.4 million viewers they did for this program.
That's odd.
1.02.
Why aren't they getting so many new viewers?
Let me take a look at the quarter hours here for this program here. What do you think the big dream match between Kurt Angle and Sting did?
Oh, it must have been at least a 1.5.
It was a 0.97, in fact. Yeah.
How can that be?
Well,
they built it up for a week.
And then the second quarter... What was in the second quarter? We'll go over the ratings as we run this down. So this first quarter got a 0.97. Sting and Kurt Angle. They had a match, ended in a DQ.
There's nothing else to say.
When some geeks ran in. And Tenay screamed, and I quote, "I can't believe it. They've thrown this match out already."
For the first time ever, two of the all-time greats are going to meet, and the winner gets the title shot at sacrifice. And guess what? It's now!
Again, keep in mind, the winner of this matchup gets the world's title shot against Christian Cage. And just as I was going to say his name, he comes running right by the broadcast table along with the other members of Team Cage. There's Tomko, AJ Styles, and Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. And the referee has called for the bell. I can't believe it. They've thrown this match out already.
Why can't you believe this, Mike Tenay? Seriously.
Mike Tenay does not watch TNA.
Guess not. So... Angle was stretched out during the break, stretchered out, and Snake gave us a stern lecture. And Don Wesselman called away to take a phone call from Cornette. So, Borash interviewed Christian and his crew. They were ranting about this and that, and the usual title bullshit. Everyone wants a shot. Christian doesn't want to give it to anybody.
Hell of a crew.
So, Don came up, and he said, "Listen, Sting won the match at the pay-per-view, but the title shot will not be taking place at the next pay-per-view. It's going to take place tonight." And it's, wait, what am I doing here?
No, you're right.
Yeah, that's right. I was just confused by my notes. No DQs. Or let me start over, sorry. Don West came in and said Sting versus Christian will be tonight for the title. And if any of Christian's guys run in, it will be a DQ.
And he would lose the belt.
And you would lose the belt. So then we had a convoluted as all-fuck clusterfuck, the Suicide Stampede.
Yeah.
This is why I hate TNA.
This is a great reason.
They had a screen with rules. The rules were, winners move on to three-way X-title match against Sabin at Sacrifice. You cannot tag in your own partner. It was like a wacky...
They can never just have a match.
No, there were a bunch of teams, and the winning team, those two guys were going to be in a three-way with Sabin.
Right.
But you couldn't tag your partner, because I guess if he did something, I don't know.
I have no idea why you cannot tell your partner, because they ended up working with the partners anyway.
I don't know. So, anyway.
So, the only one introduced was Senshi. He comes out, 2 men started to wrestle, there were 6 men on the apron, and I had no idea what the teams were.
Yeah, they didn't even tell us the teams. I had to
no graphic? No.
I had to go through and figure them out. It was Alex Shelley and Kaz, Sharky and Low Key, Petey Williams and Jerry Lynn, and Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lee.
What a team Sharky and Low Key are.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you.
Hell of a team.
So, the finish saw Sanjay hit a move, but Lethal stole his pin. And Sanjay was mad, even though his partner, by stealing the win, had gotten him into a title match at the pay-per-view.
Yes.
And he was angry at his partner and didn't want to be involved.
That doesn't make any sense.
I was like, well, why are you in the goddamn match then?
I don't know.
So Grandpa Nash came out to try and calm things down.
Didn't work, though. Sanjay was still mad.
This was so stupid.
None of this made any sense, and I hated it all.
Borash...
But that's not true. I must say, there was one point where Jerry Lynn snuck up behind somebody, and when I say snuck up, I mean on tiptoe with giant hand movements, and that was great. Everything else I hated.
Jerry Borash was at a nuclear plant or something to interview or give us an update on Kurt Angle.
There was green light on him and some flashing lights.
Yeah.
And a fence.
I don't know.
I don't know where the fuck this was.
Sting walked in. He was mad. He didn't want to get his title shot this way, he said, but he'd take it.
Hell of a babyface.
He didn't want to get it this way. I forgot to explain. The opener, the winner got the title shot at the pay-per-view. Now, perhaps you're saying, well, didn't Sting win it at the pay-per-view? Well, apparently Angle had asked for a shot at the title shot. And since it was a DQ...
Sting retained his title shot.
Sting retained his title shot.
I believe that's correct.
They did a horrible job explaining this. In fact, you had to explain it to me.
You paused and had no idea what was going on, and I explained to you as best I could. And it fit. I won't say it made sense, but it fit with what was going on TV.
Had you not been in the room, I would have no idea what was going on.
So I was useful.
You were.
Excellent.
By the way, that segment did a .95 rating.
What did the opener do?
A .97.
I don't know if I'm surprised with that or not, actually.
Then we had the big Robert Roode Tracy segment, which...
Holy Christ.
Okay, well, let me start off with the good news. When Eric Young finally punched Robert Roode, the place went haywire. They went crazy.
That's true.
This worked in that sense. That said...
Everything else about it blew.
All right. Robert Roode came out. He said 7 days had expired. They wanted to know who Eric's friend was. Again, why should we care that Eric Young has a friend? What difference has this made?
None.
Clearly none.
He's still a slave.
He's still a slave. Robert Roode, I don't know why Robert Roode needs to know who his friend is. The friend has done nothing for Eric Young, so why does Robert Roode care?
Right.
I don't know
Don't know why Robert Roode is employing Eric Young. It's gotten him nothing.
Well, that too. I don't know why Eric Young can't lie about his friend.
I don't know why Eric can't make a name up. Phil. My friend is named Phil.
My friend is named Phil. My name Harry. My buddy Harry. He's been there for me during this.
He gives me pep talks.
This time of slavery. I don't know why Eric Young can't quit Robert Roode Enterprises and just wrestle for TNA.
Sure.
Apparently that's impossible.
It's against the laws of time and space.
I don't know. So, Eric cut a promo about how he had a secret friend who had been there through thick and thin, who had given him great advice, which both of us were trying to figure out what advice this could possibly be. It has clearly done Eric Young no good, right? So, Roode said he just needed to know who the friend was. He began slapping him repeatedly. Eric punched him, fired up, that sort of thing. Tracy tried to interfere, so Eric gave her a power bomb, grabbing both breasts in mid-move as he slammed her to the mat. 10 seconds later, she was back up again. No selling this power bomb. She gave him a low blow. Roode gave him a chair shot, and he gigged. They handcuffed him. Roode said he was going to waffle him if he did not reveal his friend. Eric did not just say Larry. He did not just spout out a name. He refused to tell the truth. So finally, out came Jarrett, who beat up Roode, gave Tracy the guitar shot, He creamed Miss Brooks, non-screamed.
In the face. He creamed her in the face, was his exact words.
Well, he had that in the face.
We need that drop, by the way.
Yes, we do. That's a whole song right there. In the face. Brings a, well, same meaning.
So anyway. Even more specific.
Behind! Oh, he checked it back. He blocked it. He blocked a low blow attempt by Miss Brooks, and now he's going to turn it around on her.
He just set her up. He baited her to do the same thing. Listen to the crowd. You know what they want. You know what the crowd wants you to do.
Oh, yeah. Here comes the guitar. Get her, Jeff. Get her. Get her with that guitar.
Just level her. She's helpless right there as he's got it. Look at the look on Robert Roode's face.
Oh, she's not even worth it. She's not even.
Yes, she is.
Turn around.
Oh, he just creamed her. He just creamed Miss Brooks.
So anyway, that was the whole thing, and then it was over. Now, I will say that Robert Roode was so awesome bumping for the Babyfaces. He gets a thumbs up.
Sure.
Tracy not selling, she gets a thumbs down.
Yeah.
The whole storyline in general, 2 thumbs down.
Oh, a whole fucking body down.
The crowd reaction, thumbs up. The rating, 1.04.
You're kidding me.
No.
That actually hurts me that people cared about this. More people turned in for this.
That doesn't surprise me at all, actually, because it was
the end-to-end angle.
It was a soap opera that the people were into, and everyone played their roles well, even though it made no sense. I'm not surprised by the 1.04.
You're actually glossing over a lot of the stupidity. I will try to catch up on what you missed. There was a lot to take in. Eric at one point actually said, "You can fire me. I'm not going to tell you who my friend is." At which point, Bobby didn't just fire him. In fact, he dared him to hit him or something. So then the fight breaks out. Eric Young is running wild. Now, Tracy, no one ever puts their hands on Tracy. This girl broke Eric Young's heart. He gets his hand on her. He looks at the crowd. The crowd's going crazy. You don't give away the violence to the woman in the first angle. You save that. You build to it. You have Eric Young get his hands on her every week, but she always escapes. And 2 months down the road, he lays her out. Nope. Picks her up, hoists her in the sky, feels her up and power bombs her. And this was nasty. He pissed her out there, and she landed funny with her arm behind her back, and it looked bad. Everyone went nuts, but who cares? It came out of nowhere. So then the fight breaks out more. As you said, Tracy Brooks is back up, low blowing Eric. So only at this point, when Eric is handcuffed and helpless and double teamed, only at this point does Jeff Jarrett finally come out. What a shitty friend he turned out to be. It took all this time for he's such a good friend with Eric Young. He didn't want anyone to know he was Eric's friend. He was afraid of how uncool he would look to be hanging out with Eric Young. Wow, you're a pal. You're a good friend, Jeff. And then, of course, he gets his hands on Tracy Brooks, and they did it again. They did the same stupid mistake twice in one segment, which even for TNA is saying quite a bit. So he helps her up. He hoists his guitar up. People are going nuts. Dawn is screaming about creaming her in the face. He let her go. He teased it, and then he turned around and walloped her. And again, why? That's between the power bomb and the guitar shot, they could have built 4 to 5 months out of this. They got 5 minutes.
Well, they got a 1.04.
They only got a 1.04. Well, it worked then. My bad. I'm sorry. I take it all back, TNA. You know what you're doing. I'll just sit back and shut up. I'm just a geek on the internet. My bad.
Yep. 1.04. Good job, TNA. 1.04.
Hate the show.
I'm trying to figure out what that 1.4 got them.
Well, they tuned in and watched the show and were not inspired.
Certainly not any money.
Maybe the extra 0.4 will really want to see Bobby and Eric on the next pay-per-view. It was never announced. They weren't told, by the way, these men will wrestle in 3 weeks.
They'll probably have a blindfold match, too.
Or a chain match.
And we had Team 3D and Steiner and Tomko, NWA tag titles. LAX ran in. Even though the opener ended in a DQ,
what happened?
Actually, the opener and the main event ended in a DQ because of a run-in, and this had a run-in and no DQ. Because it's TNA! So, Dudleys pinned Tomko with a combo neck breaker. They couldn't even do the 3D.
No.
Remember when Tomko pinned Samoa Joe?
And everyone was saying, well, don't worry, this is the start of making something big with Tomko.
Yeah.
This is the start of something big. No.
Fuck yeah.
He just pinned Joe and is now returned to jobber status. God, this company sucks.
Christian versus Sting for the NWA title. Championship match on TV, 8 minutes left, 4 of which was a commercial. They announced Jackie and Gail in the street fight next week, which I'm excited for. Sting hit the death drop. Christian kicked out. Yeah. It wasn't the heel hitting his finish and the babyface kicked out. The babyface hit his finish and the heel kicked out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kurt Angle
No one's ever seen that before.
Kurt Angle ran in for the DQ. What do you mean? The point I'm trying to make is why would you have the fucking heel kick out of the babyface's move?
Well, saying that something's never been done before, it gives you things like the babyface is getting the advantage in War Games, for example.
I see.
Yes.
So Angle beat up Christian for beating him up earlier. Sting got mad, so he hit him with his bat, that being Angle. And this got a 0.95.
So Eric Young and Bobby Roode are, in fact, more popular than Sting and Kurt Angle and Christian.
This segment tied the lowest rating on the show, in fact. This World Championship match between between Christian and Sting for the NWA title, with a run-in by Kurt Angle, did the same rating as the X Division Suicide Suckfest.
No one knowing who was in it. Oh, God. I'm reminded of a quote Bobby Heenan once said about WCW, where he said, you can't really call this company a promotion because they don't know how to promote.
TNA, everybody. TNA.
Impact